The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 580. Mr. Somich.
Return to Fairgrounds, huzzah!
Oh, man. And thank goodness they're going to have good weather. The last time they had their
We'll
big
be on
card,
the turf.
it was sloppy, sealed off the turf. Yeah, we're looking at some great weather there in the Big Easy, where they're still recovering from the Super Bowl, and I'm sure you're still recovering from that as well.
I am. It's a nice little breath after the NFL season. Get to start focusing on other things. I don't know if did you watch the Four Nations game last night?
No, I haven't had a chance. I didn't get a chance to. How was it?
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be able to watch this whole tournament. It feels like it's inevitable that it's U.S. Canada in the finals. But man, just being able to watch the Canadian power play it's like a cheat code. It's like you're playing a video game almost, because it's like McCarr manning the point. You've got McDavid, you've got Crosby, you've got McKinnon. I could be the fifth skater out there, and it would still be the best power play in the NHL if it were in the NHL. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to see them play. The big question's the Blues goalie. Is Binnington going to be good enough to win the tournament? That's Canada's question now. Well, and Theodore out hurts them on the defensive side, but should be a blast being able to watch that thing play out. USA plays tonight against Finland. I think the finish might be live, Magic. Just gonna say it. They might win tonight.
I mean, of the four nations you could have picked to do this, I think you got the best four right now: U.S., Canada, Finland, and Sweden. To me, I was thinking it'd be like a Canada-Sweden final. But yeah, it's great. Canada's deep when Dylan Larkin, who's the captain and star of the Detroit Red Wings, is your fourth line center. Fantastic guy on the penalty kill. It's great that it doesn't need to be relied on to do everything like he does in Detroit. So yeah, the big question is the goaltending, but we've seen several times in his career when Binnington gets hot, and by that I mean when he like really cares and has his confidence going, it's hard to get a single puck past him.
It is. But 3 of 23 last night, 2 of them were just like clean. He got beat goals too, which is one of the question marks. If you have this much talent, is he going to get beat too much to kind of cost you that? Aiden Hill, the backup, the goalie for Vegas. I'll be interested to see if it's Binnington's net the whole way through it. The Larkin comp, it's just like Jason Tatum, who doesn't get a minute playing on the U.S. basketball team after winning the MVP of the finals. It's that kind of stuff is just crazy to me.
That's a good comparison. Jason Tatum, Dylan Larkin. I'll take that one. All right, we've got some. Delmar Dennis asking weather update. I think we'll be fast and firm for Saturday at Fairgrounds as well. Yeah, no rain in the forecast. A little bit of clouds, but no rain, which is not the case here out in Southern California. Which again, we need it, so I'm not complaining. But I was supposed to go to Santa Anita tomorrow for FanDuel. To be my first time in Santa Anita doing the show. And now it's looking like there's rumor that they may cancel. So we're waiting to find out, even if I'm going to get to go, which would really just, selfishly suck. I'd be really upset about that.
Damn you, Valentine's Day. Do you have a red suit? What were you going to wear?
I didn't even think that far ahead. I just went, they said, we're going to send you to Santa Anita. I was like, hell yeah. Tell me what time and what to do. Yeah. I'll be there. No, I don't have a red. This is like, I have this as red, but yeah. Listen, Curtis, if they do race this in, it will be absolutely sloppy there because it's been pouring very steadily here the last couple of days.
If you want sloppy racing at Santa Anita, just watch the first half of the card on any weekday. Oh, boom.
What'd that pick 3 pay the other last Friday? It was like $1.50 or something. It was just
you could have hammered it though.
You could have, yeah. It's like playing Flightline. It's like people are like, you can't make money betting Flightline, the Breeders' Cup Classic. It's like John White did because he put $10,000 down on the horse to win. That's how you make money on Flightline, winning the Classic. Listen, we might have a future Classic winner come out of this card today because last year's Breeders' Cup Classic winner won the Risen Star Stakes, and that is race number 14 at Fairgrounds. Without further ado, let's dive into it, buddy. The late pick 5 at Fairgrounds, Risen Star Stakes Day. All of them are stakes. 4 of them are graded. And oh yeah, the Rachel Alexandra for the Phillies headed to the Kentucky Oaks. Rise up. Before we start, I've never been a fan of veal. It's just not my thing. Even before I knew what veal actually was, just never been a fan of veal. What about you?
I don't think I've eaten it. I probably had it like 3 or 4 times in my life. Like
Yeah.
a good veal parm I can get into, but like it's got to be from the right place. It feels like veal can be done wrong as well, like easily.
Yeah. I'd rather have chicken parm any day. All right, let's go to Fairgrounds. Race number 10 kicks off the late pick 5, the Albert Stahl Memorial Stakes. Going a mile and a 16th on the turf. We have 14 older fillies and mares plus 1 also eligible in this race. Take note, number 3 Root Cause is going to scratch for Chad Brown. Wasn't a price, at least on the morning line, though it is Chad Brown. Flavien Prat was probably going to take some money. So that means the number 15 Classic Performer will draw in from the also eligible list. All that to say, where'd you go on top?
I went with the 15. No, I didn't. I didn't go with Classic Performers 30-1. I did go with the price though. Give me the 2 horse here on top. Ghostly Gal.
Ooh.
Little 12-1 shot here. Love Barry riding. He knows how to get some prices home there at Fairgrounds. Look, this is one of those where I went through this race like 3 times and I don't see a world beater, right? It feels like if there is one, it is probably the 5, but you're going to get a short price on the 5. It was 7-2. And I kind of just decided I want to try and find somewhere else to get a winner home here. And Ghostly Gal made a ton of sense to me. This is one where we're jumping up in class. I get it. That's why you're getting 12-1. The last 2 races were both at this company, but not on the turf. And that to me is the big delta here. If you look at what's happened since this horse came back in the 7-year-old season here and what we've done, late in the 6-year-old season, came back on the turf. It was a win at Colonial. It was a win at Indiana, then a win at Churchill. Yes, all at lower levels. But the buyers kept going up. The time form kept going up. The horse kept improving. And then we tried to take a little bit of a shot. We go to Turfway Park. We run on the synthetic. I thought the race was okay, not great. The horse ends up running third there, then jumps over. Was supposed to be in the turf version of the Memorial last time. That race gets rained off. We end up on the dirt. 2 races in this horse's career, both been on the dirt. So completely draw a line through that one. Without the world beater in here, if we can get back to those turf races, and again, I realize we are stepping up in class. We were jumping up there. But if we can get back to those turf races, Ghostly Gal fits or even is above the majority of this field, and I'm getting a 12-1 price, has tactical speed, shouldn't be too far back, is able to have a kick at the end, has won from 7th, has won from 3rd on the turf. I'm willing to take a shot here, so give me the 2 Ghostly Gal on top, 12-1.
I went 4 deep, and I used this horse. We agreed on 2 of them, and we agreed on our top picks. Like, you have the 2 on top. I'll get to mine in a second here. Everything that you mentioned, this horse, if you look at just the turf route races, she's never missed the board. She's very consistent. 4 wins, the 2nd and 3rd. The one time she missed the board, I think it was her debut race, and it was a 6 furlong sprint. It's a step in class, but I agree with you. There are no world beaters in here. There's horses that at one point probably could have won this, but you look at the number 1 School Dance, who I don't think either of us use. Like, she could have won this a couple of years ago. You don't see anything in her form lately that makes you excited about her. So yeah, agree with you on the 2. My top pick is the other one you used here, and we're going to go almost all the way to the outside because of the scratch. We're now breaking from the post 13, and that is Stir Crazy, who is the 14 horse in here. And another one who's, a very impressive winner, very consistent horse, impressive winner 2 back in the prep for the local prep for this race. So, 2 preps back, she got the win. And then last time out, she crushed the Krantz Memorial Stakes, but she's 4 for 6 on a wet dirt. It's a little different than the 2. The 2 is like, if it comes off the turf, absolutely chuck her. The 14's like, whatever you want me to run on, as long as it's not fast dirt, I can win it. So really consistent runner. The buyers are, she can run a high 80s buyer on her best day there. She's going to get Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard. Jose was riding her 2 back in the Blushing KD when she won here over course and distance. He and Irad have the same jockey agent, and they're brothers, so you can see the connection there. The distance as well. 7 starts at the distance on turf. She's got 3 wins, 3 seconds. So the only knock on the 14 for me is the post, and she's breaking from now post 13, which is still not ideal, but she's not a need the lead type. She can sit a good stalking position. She showed back at Keeneland in October. She can come from last and miss by a nose there. So 14 for me on top.
Yeah, the post was my big issue. It's why this was my 4th horse of 4 horses on the ticket. But there's enough here that I think that Stir Crazy can overcome it. You mentioned the distance. She loves it. The track 1 for 1. Those are both big positives. I do very much care about your record at Fairgrounds over this turf course because we have seen horses for courses consistently win here. So I like the fact that the 14's won over the course. You can't hate on the idea that you get Irad aboard, Maker. Very good trainer, especially these longer turf distances. So a bunch of positives for the 14. I'm not as worried about the post as I would be with some other horses because you do have some tactical speed as well. So it's if she gets the opportunity to be able to run into a comfortable position, and this is because of the way this is lined up, this specific track, a mile and a 16th does leave you the majority of the stretch to be able to really try to find your way when you're headed into that first turn. So I think there's going to be enough time for the 14 to at least get over a little bit and be able to try and win the race from the 2 path versus the 3 or 4 path at this we're at Gulfstream Park. So positives for the 14 considering where we are. Second for me, I'm going to go with, I guess, one of the local horses here. I'll go with Lovely Princess. The 4-horse who run 2 times at Fairgrounds over this turf course, has a win and a third over it. Loves the distance as well. 6 tries, 2 wins, 2 seconds, 1 third. The last race just felt like it was too long for Lovely Princess going a mile. Keeneland in the Grade 3 Bewitch just kind of made the lead and then got swallowed up when they got to the later stages of that race. So I'm willing to cross that one out. You go back to all these mile and a 16th races, mile and an 8th races. This is where this horse has really excelled. Hernandez rid this one consistently throughout the career, always finishing in the exacta. And this is another one where I like the post draw. I think you get a pretty good trip here. Probably going to be dawdling toward the back of the pack, but has enough to kind of still sit in that, we'll call it 7th, 8th versus in 14th or 15th and having to pass all of these horses. So I think Lovely Princess gets a good trip and is a consistent horse who likes the track. So we'll go with the 4 as my my third horse on the ticket. Did you use the 4? Was that one of our similarities?
No, we just had the 2 and the 14 here. The 4, I would be using the 4 if that last race in the the Bewitch had been a month ago, 2 months ago. The fact that she had just the one start between January of 2024 and now, and it came back in April, I'm really worried about her off the layoff. That was the big concern for me here. McPeak is 9% off of similar layoff. She has won from a layoff in the past. You look back, but that was 2022 to 2023. She's now 6. At a short price, I didn't want to take a shot with her. If she wins, I'm not going to be surprised, just pissed because I didn't use her.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, the win off the layoff was key for me, being able to get the win off of, and that was like, I don't know. There's some places and races that I give extra points for being able to win or compete in. A Keeneland N2X over the turf, that's one of those races that generally draws deep and draws competitive. And so to be able to win off the layoff, I thought was solid in that specific spot. You had, Beech Nut Trophy and a couple other decent horses in that race as well. So for me, that wasn't as big of a concern. And like I said, the track to me is a big part here. Like she clearly likes this Fairgrounds track and she has her jockey that she wants to go to. And I'm not using the 5. So I felt it a little easier to use the second choice since I'm leaving the favorite off.
And I did use the 5. She's going to need to take a buyer step forward, but the win, in her North American debut without having run in 10 months, I thought was ultra impressive. And it wasn't just a narrow win at Keeneland against N3X. It was a big win, 2 1/4. And she was well bet that day. She was 3-1. I think she was the second choice there. She is a grade 1 winner against males in Argentina. Ultra consistent, 7 for 8 on turf lifetime. I guess for me, the biggest knock with her, it's not the price or even the buyer. It's the fact that the one time that she went longer than a mile in Argentina, and this is a mile in the 16th race, she did get beat. It was a mile and a quarter. So maybe that was too long for her. I know we're still going a mile and a 16th here, but she's going to need to treat this more like a mile and an 8th race because of the quality of competition. But she was a clear winner there. Ignacio Correas taking the time to build up to this spot for her next start, taking his time with her. So you and I kind of like with the 4 and the 5, I agree we couldn't use both unless you just use those 2 horses in this race. So it's kind of where we split our difference here.
Yeah, I looked at the 5 for a long time, and it really kind of came down to the 4 and the 5. I agree with you. She needs to improve. I like Nacho, another guy, layoff, just 7%, but we've already seen this horse be able to win in the layoff. And I mentioned the N2X at Keeneland. That was an N3X at Keeneland, and she was able to get the job done impressively. So I don't have any real knocks on the 5, except I just didn't want to use both the 4 and the 5. So I went with the bias toward which horse I've seen run well over the track. And since the 5 has never done it, it kind of led me to the 4 versus the 5. I also think the 5 alt goes off at, I don't know, 2-1.
Yeah.
It's 7-2 is not, that's not where this horse is going to go off at. We'll just put it that way. We're going south from there. So I decided to go with a horse who I didn't think was going to get bet nearly as hard as the 5.
All right, so we each went 4 deep. We disagreed on the last one. Who's your fourth, or the last horse, I guess, that you put on your ticket here?
Give me the 10. Way to be Marie is the last on the ticket here. Another one where I'm just drawing a line through the last race was the favorite in a race which was taken off the turf, put on the dirt. It's a horse that, ran second, but like wasn't very good in that second. Prior to that, it run in back-to-back graded stakes. I thought she ran well in all three of those. I was surprised she made the lead in that 1.125 race at Churchill Downs. She has pace, but she doesn't need the lead to win. If you go back to the maiden breaking score over this fairgrounds track, she came from 4th off the pace to be able to win. She's 2 for 3 at the track. She's never missed the exacta at the distance. And this is one of those where when Atras sends a horse like this in, and I know neither of us love Giroux, but Giroux actually has ridden this horse specifically very well. I'm willing to kind of give it a pass there. And I like the tactical speed here in a race that does not possess that clear runaway leader. You'd assume that the 6 join the dance goes, but outside of that, there doesn't feel like there's a ton of speed here. So I'd rather take a horse that I know is going to be able to stay close to that pace and hopefully get first run headed into the turn.
Boy, I consider this horse for a long time. It wasn't Giroux that kept me off. My concern with her, and she might prove me wrong, is that she peaked, a 2-year-old into 3-year-old campaign. Like she's only had 2 starts, late in that 3-year-old campaign. This will be her first start as a 4-year-old. So she could improve, and she's got incredible breeding as well. It's the one that I'm worried about that I didn't use because of that record over the fairgrounds course. So we'll see what she's able to put together. I was afraid that she kind of peaked a little early in her career, and she isn't going to sustain it here. I did go for my pick though, one to the inside there. I went with a 30-1 shot here. Champagne Rose, the 9 horse. If you look at her career starting in Brazil, 5 starts, 4 of them wins by a nose, but she had a really nice time form rating for that last win, which is Group 1. The one time that she really faltered, it was heavy going, so a really not ideal turf course for her there. And then she comes to North America and makes her debut in the Krantz Memorial, which was the local prep for this, got rained off, and just did 0 running. But what I liked, Mike, is that McPeak was like, we've got to get her a race. Like she's got to get going if we're ever going to see her out there, and just threw her out there to kind of get a run into her, right? Get her to stretch her legs. So now we're second off the layoff in a much more ideal situation, meaning we're back on the turf course going 2 turns. She may not win, but 30-1 was way too high of a price for me to sit here and go, she's got no chance to get the job done. So I'm putting her on the ticket. It's Brian Hernandez Jr.'s little brother, Colby, who's going to be riding. He's actually 14% for McPeak with a 375 ROI at Fairgrounds. So I think sneaky connections here, especially because the other McPeak horse is going to be probably your second choice, the 4 horse that you're using. I looked at the 9 and said, this horse should not be 30-1, so I'm going to put it on my ticket.
Yeah, I don't hate it, especially since the race prior was taken off the turf. By the way, how weird are the numbers for those dirt races at Fairgrounds? Like just atrociously low. And maybe all these horses just don't want dirt. But like from a buyer perspective, it's like 20 points lower than anything that they had been running, which you don't generally see that big of a drop off. Are we sure that the 9 is going to run here and not Oaklawn? I mean, I would assume you're not going back to dirt after that, but it is cross
I would assume too,
right? Like that doesn't seem to make a ton of sense. I don't hate it at 30-1. Like it's one of those where I'm playing a $64 ticket for $1. If you want to cut mine to 50 cents and spread in the races that I'm spreading in and keep the same singles, this is one that I would probably add. I might add the 6 here as well. I think this is a wide open race, and this is one where I'm going to try and spread out if I can and see if I can get a price, because it seems like the 5 is vulnerable, and there's a lot of horses that, if they run their best, are very dangerous in here, but you don't know which ones are going to be able to pull it off.
I agreed with Dennis's comment earlier. I can't find it right now. The hardest race. I thought it was the hardest race of the sequence. Definitely. Hardest race of the card. I haven't looked beyond the late pick 5 yet, but definitely I thought the hardest race of the sequence. One race that neither of us thought was all that difficult is the second leg of the late pick 5. That's the grade 3 Mineshaft Stakes. And this is 8 older males going 1 mile and a 16th on the main track. And last year's Louisiana Derby winner, Catching Freedom, he's back. Flavian Pratt was riding him for Brad Cox that day. He's back aboard. I forgot this horse was 4th in the Kentucky Derby, like a good 4th in the Kentucky Derby. He's going to start his older horse campaign, and we'll see what he does. Did you use him? Did you single him? What happened?
I singled this horse. Yeah, I ended up singling Catching Freedom here. First off, I don't love Catching Freedom. I was never a huge Catching Freedom guy last year. But man, you look at this race and how it should set up. Like it is just like Catching Freedom has to be just licking his chops when he sees all the speed that's signed on. You know the 7 batting down is going to go. The 8 I think may not, and we'll talk about the 8 a little bit later there because that was the one who almost made the ticket with it. But the 4 Hall of Fame is going to want to go. You go in, so it's you're guaranteed a decent pace here. And when you look at the speed that should be in front of Catching Freedom, like he should just get a great trip. And we know he likes to close. We know he likes the course. Everything kind of lines up for Catching Freedom in this return spot. You mentioned Flavian Pratt. I think it's crazy. This is the first time this horse will have Lasix too. So that might help things along as well. Like there may be another gear that we have not seen. Brad Cox, very good off this type of layoff. 38%. Shockingly, a flat money ROI. Hard to be flat money at 38%. It means you're going off the favorite an awful lot. Pratt and Cox together, 33% positive ROI there. It's the pace, though. For me, that's really what sets Catching Freedom apart. I expect a step forward, but man, like if we do end up going 23, 40, high 46, low 47, Catching Freedom is going to be able to run right into it, and I think he's able to get the job done here. So I singled up the 5.
I used him, but actually not even the top pick for me. The top pick is the horse that you said almost made your ticket, the number 8, Como Rubino Omoidi. And I looked it up, translated from Japanese because he's bred in Japan by California Chrome's co-owner Perry Martin, who owns the horse. It means memories of sunlight filtering through the leaves, which first of all, let's take a second and appreciate the beauty of the Japanese language. The 2 words can mean such a beautiful phrase like that. But this is a horse that wants the sunlight, wants the sunshine, wants a fast track. The Grade 3 Louisiana, that track at Fairgrounds, you remember Hit Show came from last to win on the outside. In the Lecomte Stakes, Disco Time from last down the middle of the track. Horses on the front end, especially if they're on the inside, were getting absolutely demolished in the stretch. And this horse almost beat all of those odds to get a really good second in that race. Now back on a fast track. And I used him instead of singling Catching Freedom. I used him because of what you were alluding to. I don't think he goes. I think you've got Batten Down, who's going to want a blitz from just inside of him. Maycox Bay likes to be forwardly placed. Hall of Fame, who hasn't beaten jack shit. If you actually, it's like, yeah, he's won 3 times. He hasn't actually beaten anyone of interest in there, but he's going to go. Tuscan Sky, and first start since being purchased by the commish, Rapoli, he's going to go. Warrior Johnny's got some speed if he wants to use it. Like, there's a lot of speed, and yes, this sets up for Catching Freedom, but if the 8 can settle a little bit and get first run on Catching Freedom, and it's not so much of a closer favoring track like it was for Lecomte Stakes Day, I think he's right there with a chance. 8-1, fantastic price. So Catching Freedom, the 5, and the 8. Como Rubino Omoidi for me.
Yeah, the Como Rubino Omoidi thing. If this horse, if the wins that I like, I'm focused in on a couple, right? Where did you not get the lead and then win? So the Delta Mile and the Louisiana Downs race, where he wins the $20,000 N1X. Those are the 2 races, and it's like I wish those weren't at Delta and Louisiana Downs. I wish those were somewhere else, and I'd be more excited about this horse. I will echo what you said about Hall of Fame, though. This is the horse I think is going to get bet that doesn't deserve to be bet off the board. The last race looks awesome when you see it on the form. When you see it on paper, you're like, yes, went out there, demolished them, gate to wire, huge buyer number. It was a 5-horse field. It was an easy lead. Like it's everything that you want to bet against next time out, especially when you're jumping up in class and it feels like you're going to get pace pressure as well to Hall of Fame. So I like the 4 is the one where I would say, watch out. If you love the 4, just make sure you realize this is a very different situation than that last race at Fairgrounds. But yeah, 5-8 were the 2 that I also kind of think the 1 has a shot, Warrior Johnny, if we decide not to go with the 1. And that was the other horse I kind of went back and forth on here. But for me, Catching Freedom made the most sense. And it's kind of the same issue with Warrior Johnny, where you're like, I really like that race, but it's at Parks 2 back. Like you want it to be at a little bit better of a track before you're kind of just really going out. So yeah, give me Catching Freedom on top. That'll be a single for me, but I don't hate the use of the 8. I don't hate the use of the 1 either.
Chris Manlow does bring up a good point. Hall of Fame is 3-0 with Lasix, 0-4 without it. And you look at how he finishes, or rather doesn't finish, both Louisiana Derby and the Risen Star last year. Those running lines to me indicate like a classic bleeder where they've got the lead, they're looking good, then all of a sudden they just just quit hard. Like two anchors got thrown out the back there. So there could be something to that. If you like Hall of Fame, that is something in your corner. I think he might go off as the favorite because everyone's going to go, oh, he's third off the layoff. Look at that 103 buyer last time out, above $1.4 million son of gun runner, all that stuff. So if you don't like Hall of Fame, I think that you're going to get a good price on everybody else. And then Warrior Ed Burke asks, is Warrior Johnny in this race? He's cross-entered in actually the next race, which is on the turf. I would assume, Mike, that he's going to stay here. He's 0 for 3 on turf. It feels like he was cross-entered because they take these entries so far in advance. Connections, maybe we're thinking if it gets rained off, we're going to have a much easier time in the Grade 3 fairgrounds against a bunch of turf horses than we are in the actual Grade 3 mine shaft.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was kind of one of those, hey, if it rains, we'd rather be in the turf race against turf horses versus being in the dirt race against dirt horses. One other thing about Hall of Fame, just because this is going to be one of those horses that's going to make a difference for people. Either you're on them and you love them or you don't. The 3-0 with Lasix, 0-3 Lasix, that's dead on. The other part of that, he's 3-0 when he is right there on the pace, and he's 0-3 when he's not, right? And that to me is the other, like, if he doesn't make the lead, he's in a world of trouble. He has to be forwardly placed in this race, and just because of all the other speed, it feels like there's a world where he may not get out there, or he may be sitting in third and catching kickback. Because if you look at when he was successful, you look at that fairgrounds race, gate to wire, you look at the Churchill Mile, he had the outside draw. That was a really good draw for a horse who doesn't want to deal with kickback, especially since it's a 1-turn mile, not a 2-turn mile. And then you go back to that fairgrounds race where he was inside and was able to hold the rail and just draw off against maidens. Like, all three of those have a similar story around them where you're never catching kickback, you're in the clear, you're in the lead. Like, those are easier style of races to win versus drawing the 4-post with speed inside and outside of you.
Yeah, this is going to be the biggest acid test for him since the Louisiana Derby last year. And we all know how that went. Catching Freedom won and Hall of Fame did not. Race number 12 is the Fairground Stakes, a Grade 3 event back on the turf, 1.1 1/8. And there's 10 entered, but we're assuming it'll be 9 older males since Warrior Johnny, we just talked about, probably going to scratch out of this race run on the dirt instead. But this is a good field, a really good field of older males on the turf. Where'd you go on top?
Oh, I went to my girl. Give me Cherie DeVaux on the 8 here, taking candy. Cherie DeVaux, very prominent in this card. I'll just say that. There's multiple races where you got to take a peek at the DeVaux. This is a horse that's just been very, very consistent. We've seen only one time or twice, I should say, the career debut, and then once at Ellis running outside of the top 3 in a race. I thought the last race was pretty good at Churchill, but kind of just didn't have enough to be able to get home. Now you get the debut in the 5-year-old season here. This has just been a very, very consistent horse, and it feels like this one gets a fairly good trip. Doesn't have to have the lead, but has enough speed early if that's the case. The one question mark here to me is the track. Love the fact that Irad gets aboard. He and DeVaux teaming up for 33%, 6 for 18 when they have teamed up over the last 2 years. So I'll take the 8, taking candy here on top.
I put the horse second. Love everything you mentioned. I think it's worth noting too that the horse, or rather that the jockey Cherie DeVaux uses quite frequently, not just at fairgrounds, but especially fairgrounds because he's based there's Jose Ortiz, and talked about it earlier. He and Irad, they're brothers. They share the same jockey agent. If you see Jose is going to ride a horse that he's been running with, which is the case here, and Irad picks it up, it's like you should consider that a lateral move. And it's weird to say that because it's Irad, but it's like Jose is just absolutely fantastic here at the meet. So I'm with you on that one. I put the horse second behind Gigante, which is the horse that Jose Ortiz is riding, and just red hot right now. The horse is on a 3-race win streak, won the prep for the prep 2 back, the Diliberto Memorial when it was on the turf. And then the Colonel Bradley was taken off the turf. He won that one as well. And he's a horse that's been, he's actually, he's what, 3 for 4 on dirt, and he's 5 for 15 on turf. This is the classic example, Mike, of you take a knot this time, they can win on anything. And this horse literally is doing that. So, riding the hot hand here. He's 2 for 4 at fairgrounds with a second to boot. Has yet to win, going 1.1 1/8. He did finish third back in the Grade 3 River City. So that's going to be a test for it. But it's worth noting, too, that after winning the Colonel Bradley, he was part of a 1-horse sale. It was literally just him, a Fasig-Tipton digital sale. And the connections, Clark Brewster, LNN Racing, they bought him and sent him right back to Asmussen. They're like, no, they use Asmussen a lot anyways. They bought this horse. I'm sure Asmussen was telling them, like, no, he's really good. He's still really good. Buy him. They plunked down $610,000 for him, and this is where he shows up. So I like Gigante, but based on how you reacted, I don't think maybe you're against him because of the distance thing.
Well, it's funny. The horse is 9 for 18 or 8 for 19. He's 2 for 3 on fast dirt, 1 for 1 on wet dirt, 5 for 15 over the turf, and 0 for 4 at the distance.
It's so wild.
And going to be the favorite in this race. So yeah, I'm going to take a shot against here. Like this is just one of those horses where I'm willing to let Gigante beat me if that's the case. Ran 4th in this race back in 2024. Likes the track. That's the only time he's missed the board going over this Fairgrounds turf course. But the waters just feel a little bit deeper here than what they've been in the past for Gigante. And when you look at when he's lost, it's been horses like Major Dude and I'm Very Busy and Beatbox. And like, they're pretty good horses. I feel like we've got a couple that could kind of step up here. And one of those, obviously, the 8 Taking Candy. But the horse that beat the 8 last time out, the 1 horse, What Say Thee, I think has every shot to take another step forward for Mike Maker here. You get Sai as a board. One of those rare cases where See the Stars stands for 220,000, and this one sold a long time ago for 45. So See the Stars probably wasn't 220 back then, but was still an expensive sire. His horse has traveled all over the place and just consistently won. He's won at Gulfstream Park. He's won at Keeneland, won at Churchill, and it feels like this is one that wants the distance. 3 for 4 going the distance, was 5 for 8 last year, which is pretty impressive in and of itself. Again, another one where you don't see a ton of speed, but the horse can be involved early. Saez gets the rail, should be able to save ground, beat the 8 last time out. Enough there for me to take What Say Thee. The 1 horse is my second horse on the ticket.
Yeah, like this horse as well. So I went 5 deep in here and with a field of 9. I used the horse. I did not hear. I see Mike Lawson saying that that the 3 unit economics is going to be out. I haven't seen that anywhere. So if that is the case, I'll just make it. I'm not going to replace. I'll just make it a 4 horse use in here because then we're using 4 of 8 in the field. But I agree with everything you say on the 1 horse. Since I brought it up, unit economics. The tactical runner can be, come close to the pace, or you can come from well off of it. And Chad, when he's on the Fairgrounds turf in the last 5 years, it's all been listed or graded stakes races. And from 8 starters, he's got 2 wins and 5 of 8 finished in the money. And you look at unit economics last 6 starts, he's either winning or he's had very narrow defeats. Now, Chad has said this horse has got an issue sometimes with switching to his wrong lead at the really wrong time. But you got Flavien Prat riding him as long as he starts. And the one time Prat rode him, he went from 9th, 6 1/4 lengths behind to get the win. And that was going a mile on the inner turf at Aqueduct. So it's the right step up in class. He's going to get Lasix. He's never run without Lasix, so you don't have to worry about that as well. But he has been the beaten favorite 4 different times in his career. So I could understand with those connections, the record if you want to take a shot against.
Yeah, I use this horse. So if this one scratches out, it makes my ticket even cheaper. If the distance to me was the question mark. We've never gone the 1.125 distance here. You've seen this horse run 1.16 at the most. So we'll see if the horse can handle it. But this is one of those kind of classic Chad Brown horses that gets a little bit better as they go longer, as they get a little bit older. And so it just makes sense here for unit economics to me. And I kind of like the 5-1 prices there. We'll see. We'll see if we get that, if we end up getting that price, and if the horse runs. I had not heard that unit economics was out of this race. So we'll see if that is the case. 4th horse for me, Relampaggio Verde. Give me the 5 horse here, 8-1. Kenny McPeak, Brian Hernandez Jr. is going to be up in the saddle. This is another one where I'm excited to see this horse get back on turf. We saw this horse get better over the turf races. So if you just eliminate the races since the layoff, so it had a layoff from the 2022 to 2024. Then you start just focusing on the turf races in 2024. You see a nice effort, 78 going gate to wire at Keeneland, jumps up to an 81, getting the victory there, going 1.5 miles, then 1 3/8. Falters a little bit at the end, but that was against 2 next out winners and over a tough distance at 1 3/8 at Saratoga. Then the last 2 races, both on the dirt. Not bad races. Finished 3rd and the 2 starts ago, won the last start and got better. But those are both on dirt. And I think turf is what this horse wants. I expect you're going to see a step forward here from the 5. So I'll take the 5 at 8-1 here. And I guess it means green lighting in Spain. I knew Verde was green. I didn't know. I guess Relampaggio makes sense as lighting with lamp in there. that too simplistic?
I was like, sure, it makes sense.
Yeah, give me the 5. That's gonna be the last one on for me. So I was 1, 3, 5, and 8. I would just be 1, 5, 8 here if the 3 does scratch.
So that was the other one I used was the 5. Relin Pagaverde. Yeah, everything that you said about that one, I would be 1, 2, 5, 8 if the 3 ends up scratching. I still haven't seen anything from anybody reporting that. Or I'm not saying that you're wrong. If you can tell me where you saw that or something, just I'm going to be back in the FanDuel studios later. So if that's true, I'd like to be able to talk about it on there. Let's move on. The penultimate leg of the late pick 5 at Fairgrounds, Saturday, February 15th. The grade 2 Rachel Alexandra Stakes, Kentucky Oaks points on the line. Chad Brown is not going to run the 3 Ballerina Dioro. She had a slight illness. So a field of 6, and that means that the price on my single Good Cheer was already not going to be 6 to 5. She went from 4 to 5 to 1 to 5, 2 to 5 with that news, Mike.
Yeah, right around there. And I singled her too. To me, it's the 2 or the 6. And if you want to take a shot at the 6, cool. I would also single the 6 if I was playing. I wouldn't play 2-6 because they're going to be the 2 shortest prices. So I would single the 2 or single on the 6 here, and I'm gonna chalk out. I like Good Cheer has just been too good thus far in her career. Perfect 4 for 4. She's looked awesome as a 2-year-old. She won a stakes race as a 2-year-old. She returns here as a 3-year-old. It's Brad Cox off the layoff. He's 23%, 30% when they won the last start. Saez 31% over the last 2 years. I mean, it's just there's too much here for me not to like. She's got enough early speed that she should stay relatively close to Simply Joking, and then I think she runs her down. But if you want to go with the single and think Simply Joking is going to be able to clear and win, I mean, I don't hate that either. But to me, you have to single the 2 or the 6. You can't use them both. I went with the 2.
Yeah, it's I did the Kentucky Oaks top 5 video for the website and the channel with Aaron yesterday, and my top 2 horses in the Kentucky Oaks are Good Cheer and also Simply Joking. The problem is there's a lot of other speed in here. And Good Cheer, she's been so. I mean, she's not just that she's 4 for 4. She has destroyed her competition in those 4 starts. And the Goldenrod, that has produced some really nice runners out of it that were finishing behind her, and she just toyed with them. So I think it's all systems go here for it. FanDuel has been running graphics for, the Risen Star and the Rachel Alexandra about the horses that have won and how well they've done in recent years. We've had 2 Kentucky Oaks winners come out of this race in the last 6 years, including Pretty Mischievous 2 years ago. Tarifa won it last year. She was a multiple great stakes winner. You've had Untappable won this race. Monomoy Girl won this race. Like this race should not be a grade 2. This should be a grade 1. And then the next prep should be a grade 2 because of how impressive the resume list is here for it. And I think with Good Cheer, the chat seems to agree as well. It's a free square and you move on. So with that said,
it is rare you see, like you often see a horse win every one of their races by like a length and a half, two lengths. It is rare that the second to last call in every one of their races, they're up by at least a length and a half. And that's what Good Cheer did last year. It was never even close in the stretch, let alone close at the finish line. No one was near her. So tough. Yeah, she's going to be a short price, but it does feel like one you need to swallow.
Ooh. Not going to touch that one. The 5th and final leg of the late pick 5 at Fairgrounds on Saturday, February 15th. The grade 2 Risen Star Stakes. Always one of my favorite preps of any time of the year. Love this race because you get huge fields and you get some big horses that come in. And we might not have, a ton of big name horses yet, but we have one certainly from his 2-year-old campaign. East Avenue, can he rebound from that Breeders' Cup Juvenile disaster start? And is he a true need the lead type? And most importantly, did he make your ticket?
Well, I think it's interesting you're throwing shade at Jonathan's Way. Just one from one big name? Wasn't Jonathan's Way a pretty big name last year as well, Magic?
When he wins the Pat Day Mile, I'll call it. He's not a 2-turn horse.
I love it. Your early Pat Day Mile favorite, Jonathan's Way. Don't necessarily disagree with you. I did not use the 2. I did use the 4, but not on top.
Okay.
I was really impressed with Built last time out in the LeComp. And maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself here, but I thought that I thought the Disco Time was awesome in that race, and I thought Built ran a very, very good race to run second. Yeah, Disco Time was better and had a kind of rough trip in that race as well, but I thought Built was very good, and I love the fact that Built came from off the pace as well. Was able to was sitting kind of mid pack off the breaking from the 12 out of 13 post. And kind of got shuffled back and then had to make a run late and came close. The race before that in the Gun Runner, Built goes gate to wire. So you have a horse that has shown the ability to win on the front, and you have a horse that's been able to pass horses as well. That's a huge deal when you look at the Kentucky Derby stretch and the horses that you're facing, because that versatility means that you don't get eliminated in these races early. And Built has kind of proven that he's not going to get eliminated in these races early. If he goes to the lead, great. He can go the whole way. If he needs to close, great. He can do that as well. We've seen him have success over the track. And the 5-1 price is just way better than what we're going to get on the 4-horse East Avenue. So give me the 9 Built on top. Also think this is a positive jockey change. I mean, I like Loveberry, but I don't think you can argue that Saez is not significantly better.
I don't know about significantly. I think J Love should have won the Kentucky Derby with 2 fills a couple of years ago, but
I disagree.
Saez is yet to have an official Derby win. He was on maximum security, but
how dare you take away from my boy Maish?
I said what I said. No,
Unbelievable.
Mage won. 2 fills was the best horse in that race, because every other horse that was part of that early pace completely folded in the stretch, and 2 fills was right there with that. Anyway, that's fine. It's fine.
Built has a little Mage in him. He can win. Could have won gate to wire, closing from the back, getting it done.
He does. You're not wrong. Listen, so I used him second. I used him as well. But if you like, let's list off the obstacles that this horse had to overcome. Broke from post 12 of 13. Super wide, dealt with an off track, heavily favoring closers, and he didn't get an easy lead, though I don't know if he'd want the lead there anyways. The rail, absolutely dead. Our boy Innovator was sitting up there chugging along, and then in the stretch, it just was like, not the place to be, not the spot you want to go. And so when he tipped off and he went past Innovator, Disco Time, I think, was just too far out wide for Built to see. He almost beat Disco Time to the wire, despite not knowing that horse was there. So many things he had to overcome. Now he gets a better draw. I love Jareth Loveberry. Yes, Luis Saez is a better jockey right now than Jareth Loveberry. Not going to argue with that. I was just giving you shit. J Love's from Michigan. That's why I took a little offense to that there. So I put the number 9 Built second. I did put East Avenue on top, just because of the 2 races that he had prior to the Breeders' Cup Juveniles on the desk when he won at Ellis Park. Immediately sent him right to the Breeders' Futurity. He went to Breeders' Futurity. He won that race impressively. But the question mark for me is, I don't know that he's if he's a need the lead type or not. Like Gaffleone said when he recovered, then he was taking kickback and he just hated it and was fighting the whole rest of the race, and that's why he never improved his position. When I hear that, I'm like, if he breaks on top, he's got a nice draw here. He can out hustle the 3. He can definitely out hustle the 2. We'll see what the wacky ass American Promise does on the rail. And I say wacky ass because go watch him in the stretch of the Southwest. He's a wacky ass horse. If he beats those horses to the punch, he's on the lead. And then I think he's going to win gate to wire, and it's going to be super impressive. But I need to see that he can actually handle rating if he doesn't cross that, at least as far as the Derby goes. So I put him on top. And you said, did you just go 2 deep? Where'd you put East Avenue?
No, I went 4 deep, but I put East Avenue in the second spot for me. So I was 9-4 to start this out.
Okay. So, and you went 4 deep. Okay. I did cheat a little bit here. So I'll toss it back to you, because I talked about the 2 horses you're using, and one of them being just my God, how wacky ass was he in the Southwest?
I'm going to use the wacky ass 1-horse American Promise, because I'm not so sure East Avenue gets the lead. And I kind of like rail speed. And, it's interesting because what did Dwayne Lucas say last year about Torres? Why does he like him? He listens to instructions. When I tell him to go, he sends the horse. What's Dwayne Lucas going to tell Keith Asmussen in this race, Magic?
The same thing I told him when the Lemon Muffin, when they teamed up to win the Honeybees. It was like, go, you little shit, go.
And that is exactly what I think is going to happen here. I think American Promise makes the lead from the rail. And I think that kind of throws this race into a little bit of a wonky position where, like, let's say that East Avenue has to slow down and has to pull back around that first turn. And all of a sudden you get a breather in the second quarter. And guess what? This is fairgrounds. We see wonky shit happen here. Like, I'll take a little bit of a shot here with a horse that wouldn't be 12-1 if he had made the lead in the last race. Like, it did not break well, then kind of got rushed up, and like it was just a mess for American Promise, and that's why he was wonky in my mind. So yeah, I'll take a little bit of a shot with the 1 here, American Promise at 12-1, who's going to go off at better than 12-1. I bet I get close to 20-1 on this horse. And why not? Why not go gate to wire here? Because I do think the only way American Promise wins this race is by sending. And since it's Dwayne Lucas, he is going to tell Keith Asmussen to send. And I think Keith Ashterson's going to listen to him. His dad knows something about horse racing. He's probably going to say, hey, if D-Wayne tells you to go, you go. And so I think the one goes here and causes some trouble for East Avenue and possibly pulls off the shocker if he's able to go gate to wire.
I mean, Innovator almost did the same thing in the Lecombe Stakes, and that was a track that did not set up well for a horse trying to do that. So I respect it's, out of the Southwest, we run back 2-3 weeks later. That's normal turnaround time for D-Wayne. Said, all right, now we're going to ship you down to Louisiana. We're going to run in that race there. So I don't hate it. I went 3 deep. I went for a horse that I've had this feeling since I saw the draw. This horse could really screw things up, and it's the number 8 Giacoso. And I say that because every year there is one Derby prep race where Keith DeSormo shows up with a horse, and you're like, doesn't fit. It's just DeSormo being DeSormo. And somehow, some way, that horse wins. And then you look back in the formula and you go, well, I guess I could kind of see this. He had to take a big step forward, but I could kind of see it. So let's run through his resume. He's been routing 4 times in his career. He's got 2 wins and a second. Now, those were all on turf. He did try a 1-turn mile in the Grade 3 Iroquois. I think too short for him going just that 1-turn mile. A good third, 78 buyer for it, and he had to deal with breaking from the rail as well. Not ideal for him. He likes to come from off the pace, and if there's enough of a pace set up here, there's enough speed, he's going to come running late. And this is a horse that was favored in the Grade 2 Bourbon Stakes. Keith DeSormo had the favorite in a Grade 2 Breeders' Cup win-in-your-in prep race at Keeneland in October, and he didn't do well. But all of those things to say, this horse, a lot of people thought something of this horse, and he came out of that race to win a tough allowance at Churchill Downs the weekend after the Breeders' Cup. Listen, if this horse wins, it's going to shock a lot of people. It won't shock me because we've seen Keith DeSormo do this time and time and time again.
Well, and it's one of those, it's a not this time. And we've talked about not this time multiple times during this show, during the last show. We love this horse as a sire. He can sire grass. He can sire dirt. That's why kind of jumping back and forth, I don't mind as much here with the 8 horse, because we have seen not this time's pop on both surfaces. And this specific horse is only 1 on grass, but the race in the Iroquois I thought was kind of good, especially 24-1. So there is some dirt in the ability here for the 8. I don't like this horse, but again, 20-1, I'm not going to talk you out of it. And you're right. DeSormo seems to win one of these at 30+2-1 every single year. Maybe this is the one, right? I mean, this is East Avenue's first off a layoff. Like we talk about, the time to get a horse, especially in the Derby prep, is usually the first one, and then they sharpen up a little bit as you try and get that 3-weight race sequence into the Derby. So yeah, I mean, if you want to take a shot with the 8, I'm not against you. I'm taking a shot with the 1, right? We both feel like this is a race where you can kind of step out a little bit and see what happens. The 3 horse, Vecimo, who's been in the news, is my other horse here. We kind of mentioned the pace from the 1 and the 4. Feels like this is the benefactor of that pace, at least from the front part or the forward part of the race. I think the Vecimo gets like the perfect pocket trip here. We've shown speed in both of our races, but not wanted the lead. Was able to close in both of those races from not far off it and win both of those races. It's a Pletcher horse, Nyquist. We know the distance should be there. You get Irad Ortiz Jr., who's decided to ride this horse back for the 3rd straight time. Again, both those 2 wins, and the price at 8-1 is interesting enough. The positive drug test, we will see if we run. We'll see what happens. That's what Bree was mentioning there. Yeah, we'll see what goes on with the 3 here, but I think Vecimo has a shot to be able to sit directly behind the 1 and the 4 and then be able to get first run on both of them, and we'll see if that's enough to get the job done.
He shouldn't, whether or not they do anything about the test before Saturday, which the way horse racing moves, I don't even think will happen. Yeah. Even if they did something, it shouldn't disqualify him from running in this race because it was, first of all, it was the maiden win. He won at Tampa in his next start, as you mentioned there, but there's nothing rule-wise that would negate him from being in here. Now, Pletcher would have to, serve a suspension, so maybe you have somebody serving as the trainer of record or something for that
ghost
spot.
trainer.
I just don't think it's going to be a situation where you have to worry about that if you like the horse. I put him 4th in here. I didn't end up using on the ticket for me, but 5th rather. Because I forgot I did go 4 deep in here. I went back and forth about who to use. He's going to need to take a big step forward buyer wise, but it's an aggressive move for Pletcher to go from winning at Tampa to this spot. You would think he'd go from here to the Tampa Bay Derby and then the Bluegrass. So coming here, I would really caught my attention in that regard. So I respect using the 3 Vassimo. I forgot that I used this horse because he's the very last one on my ticket, and I'm still sitting. You're gonna laugh at me, and that's fair. It's the 7 Septarian.
Yeah.
Because you want to talk about a high percentage strong trainer doing something aggressive. This makes less sense than putting Vassimo in the race. He wins his first 2 starts sprinting, first at Charlestown and then at Laurel Park. And then John Stewart Resolute Racing privately purchases him, sends him to Chad Brown, and they go to the Mucho Macho Man. And let's talk about the top 2 finishers from that race. Guns Loaded, jack shit in the next race. Treaty of Rome, jack shit in the next race. This horse was 3rd. Why in God's green earth would you send this horse to this race and not some like allowance at Tampa or something, or hell, go back to Charlestown with him? If you didn't think he had something in here, he's adding blinkers. That's one thing that's big in his corner. That's a 30% winning move for Chad Brown, 284 ROI. And he's getting Flavien Prat to ride. If you're Flavien Prat, like, I know you ride a lot for Chad Brown, but if you saw what happened in the Mucho Macho Man, yeah, with Pratt, if you saw what happened there, like your jockey agent says, I'm going to have you ride this horse. You tell the jockey, I'm going to fire your ass. No, I'm not riding that, but he's going to be here. And Flavien Prat is one with, some odd horses before, and especially here at Fairgrounds for trainers. So I put him on there. If this doesn't go my way, if he doesn't run well, if he runs like the other 2 horses that finished ahead of him in the Mucho Macho Man, I need you to slap me the next time that I try to use any horse that ran in the Mucho Macho Man. Like, I don't care if they're in a 5K claim or at Charlestown. Just slap me and don't let me use it.
Yeah, no. The reason why this horse is here is because Resolute Racing spent all that money. They're not going to spend all that money, have a terrible race in the Mucho Macho Man, and be like, let's go to a low level allowance. Let's just do that with this horse that we bought and sent to Trad Bound. They're going to try and go through this process. And I mean, Pratt kind of has to ride some of these horses for Brown, right? Like that's the truth of the whole matter, is like you're getting some of the turf routes that or mounts that when I send a horse here and I want you to ride it, guess what? You're going to go ahead and ride it.
Come on, Vincent Chemino's here this weekend. Chemino usually gets the B team for Chad. You give Chemino a shot in a Derby prep.
Hard pass. No, well, he's there riding other Pratt or other Brown horses, like the turf horse that Mike Olson thinks is scratched. It's not scratched. Real quick. What odds can I get? Heads up, the 11 Jolly Samurai against the 7. Can I get 2 to 1?
Wait, say that again. I heard you the horses. What's the bet?
You get the 7.
Okay.
I get the 11. If you win, heads up, whoever finishes further up in the race, right? If you win, you get 1 bottle of tequila. If I win, I get 2 bottles of tequila.
No.
No, but it's the 30-1 shot.
I get what you're going with and what Olsen likes. He's coming out of the Springboard Mile, which Cole Battle won that, went to the Smarty Jones and won. Speed King won that, or was second rather, and went and won the Southwest Stakes. And they're second and third in the Derby points right now. The Springboard Mile top 2 horses are second and third in your Derby points list. No, I don't think. I mean, if that happens,
what about 1.5Z?
No.
Fully in the middle.
This never goes. This has gone well for me one time, and I need to just it's like when you get your ass handed to you at the blackjack table and you finally get that 1 win, and you're just like, okay.
Unbelievable. It's a 30-1 shot. Honestly, I think the 11 has a legitimate chance to hit the super. Like if I'm playing exotics, I'm including the 11 in a lot of stuff. Danny Pish. He's one of those guys. We'll just put it that way.
One of those guys. He's 13% last year. I don't know if he's one of those guys in Texas. This ain't Texas.
They pop every now and then. We'll just put it that way. They run big races when you don't expect.
Oh, they pop all right. They certainly pop something.
Yeah. So anyway, Jolly Samurai, I do think is live at 30 to 1. I don't think he can win. Now maybe he can win. Who knows? Maybe with the level of this race, if East Avenue doesn't run, who knows? But I would be using Jolly Samurai underneath like tries, supers, things like that at a big price. I used to love playing him at Sam Houston. He was one of my boys.
Oh yeah.
He also, what's Aaron's track? The one of the shithole Oklahoma track.
Remington?
No,
Will Rogers.
No. Will Rogers. Yes, he's also one of the real Will Rogers guys.
Oh boy.
You sure?
Yeah.
2-1 on the 7. Come on.
No.
You get a Chad Brown on the dirt with Flavian Pratt.
No. But you just quote a Beyonce song. Pedlo wants to know.
Did I? Not intentionally.
It couldn't be me. I know one Beyonce song's lyrics.
What's that?
All the single ladies. All the single ladies.
What's
and that's all the part that I know.
To the left.
Oh yeah, forget that.
Isn't that Beyonce? She's a country singer now. Did you know that?
Good for her.
Yeah, she won the Grammy for Best Country Album.
I know. I keep getting emails about the whatever her tour's name is called that's coming through here. Blue Ivy Country Scene or whatever.
Isn't that her daughter's name?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
All right, let's get out of here. Final tickets for the Big 5 at Fairgrounds. Yeah, because I got to be in the studio later tonight. We'll go through. If you're watching, take a look below. Audio listeners, take a listen. I'm going to go 2, 5, 9, 14 with 5, 8 with 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. Single good cheer and the 2-horse, and then 4, 7, 8, 9. $80 for 50 cents. Mike, you're playing it for $1.
I am. $1 ticket for me. Give me the 2, 4, 10, 14 with 5, with 1, 3, 5, 8, with 2, with 1, 3, 4, 9 for $1. That'll cost you $64.
We've got plenty over on the Racing Dudes YouTube channel. Blinkers off. They were supposed to go live half an hour ago. I don't know if they actually did go live. If they did, sorry. But I want to let you know about that one. Go check out the Super Bowl recap show between Aaron and Papa Dude. People excited because the under for the national anthem hit. And what about Isaiah Pacheco? But Pedlo is like he's jizzing in his pants, wanting to talk about Isaiah Pacheco.
He was one of the few props that I was able to cash. The longest run went under because I think he ran the ball 3 times in that game, which I thought Kareem Hunt was going to get more run. He only ended up with like 3-4 carries as well. But yeah, Pacheco under went well, so that was fun. But not a lot of fun at the Super Bowl. Like I had a lot of fun laughing at it, to be honest. It was a mess, man. And I was on air, and let me tell you, new respect for like some of those on-air commentators, because it gets really tough to fill some of that time. And like it's funny because like we were like, one of the things we were directed is like, make sure you just keep checking in on the props, talk about who's going over, what's like looking like, and it's like 24-0 at half. We're like, and everyone's under. That's all. Yeah. There's no really checking in on the props when it's all under. Yeah. So it was interesting. Yeah, the Hey Drake moment was hilarious during the halftime show. I did enjoy that.
All the shade thrown at Drake. That was like one of the few things that I knew, including having was it Venus Williams show up and do the crip walk towards the end because
Serena.
Drake.
It was
Serena. Sorry,
it
was a huge asshole to her before. Creepy. Yeah, I'm not a Drake fan just in general for many reasons, like from him as a personal side. So I loved all that.
Apparently, there was a thing between them. Like apparently there was a little bit of a couple sessions, if you know what I mean, between Drake and Serena back in the day. It's like an assumed thing, but not necessarily a publicly official thing, if you will. I actually enjoyed Drake early in the career, and I've just gotten less and less interested as it's gone.
He's just this creep. His whole thing with Millie Bobby Brown when she was underaged and being way too close to he just gives me the heebie-jeebies, massive heebie-jeebies.
There's some shady stuff. Yeah, I'm not defending that part of it in any way, shape, or form. I mean, like, to be clear, like I thought Take Care was good, and the whatever the album before that, Headlines or something, I don't know. There was a couple bangers back when I was late 20s, early 30s that I liked. See, look at this.
Signed.
Well, it's funny, the chat loving the pop culture talk now. Who knew?
Oh, geez. Well, we'll have to save that for the next episode. It has been our time. Thank you so much for joining us. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He's at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. As I mentioned, I'll be on 5 to 8 Pacific with the great Kurt Hoover. I've been with him in several months on the desk, so that'll be fun. And then I'll be either at Santa Anita or in studio tomorrow. We'll see if Santa Anita decides if they want to run tomorrow or not. Still haven't heard on that. How can people catch you on the VSiN channel?
Busy weekend, new times. Be on Friday tomorrow. Money Moves with Stormy Bonatoni. That's from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific, noon to 2 Eastern. We talking Four Nations, talking college hoops, NBA All-Star Game, all that fun stuff. Talking a little bit of NFL next year futures as well. Then Saturday and Sunday, Ready, Set, Bet, moving to 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern for 3 hours. And we will be covering everything from UFC to golf, to Four Nations, NHL futures, NBA futures, a little bit of NFL as well. So should be jam-packed couple shows. I haven't asked Aaron to be on yet, but I think Aaron's going to be on. I'd like, let's assume he's going to say yes to me, that he'll jump on for at least a segment there.
Aaron is the biggest whore that is on he's low-key the biggest whore that is on the entire team, because you ask him to do something and he automatically will just say yes. There's never any question.
He said no to me once. And then immediately texted me like, man, I'm so sorry. I have a dinner reservation. Should I move it? I'm like, no, dude, it's fine. Like, it's cool.
Yeah, that's Aaron. We love him for it. It's great. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back next week, same time, same place, with another fun Pick 5. Until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this weekend, everybody.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb, because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.